Hey, this is Zazzaboo from Elevate, and you're about to watch Table of Content, which is streamed live on Twitch. We'd love to see you live, so come by every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Visit elevatestreams.com for more information. Welcome to Table of Content. This is our Elevate Community Roundtable show. We're going to talk about the latest in streaming, gaming, and entertainment news. We're joined by a great group of guys. We've got GeekStuffOG, we've got Eminent Stump, and the Official Rogue. How are you guys tonight?
I'm peachy keen, thank you, Zaz. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Stump Rogue, how are you?
Good over here.
I'm just glad to be here.
So let this guy in.
Yeah. So quickly tell everybody about your channel or your role in the community. Geek, you want to start?
Sure. I'm a member of the lovely Elevate community. It's an awesome community, of course. My channel, I'm a variety streamer, so I stream a little bit of everything or whatever. I feel like Dungeons and Dragons seems to have taken over most of the channel, but I do a just chatting stream also, and whatever game is tickling my fancy at the moment.
You are also our community streamer for the month.
I am. That's right. I am.
You guys checking out.
Yes, that's true. Thank you for that honor, by the way.
Of course. It was voted on by an esteemed group.
Huzzah.
Stump, how about you, man?
I'm actually just a supporter of the community. I don't personally stream at all, but I'm a big fan of a lot of people who do in that community, and just trying to get out there and support people.
We really, really appreciate you, man.
Heck yeah.
I know I speak for everybody. And the Official Rogue, tell us about your channel, sir.
Well, hello, the Official Rogue. I'm pretty much a variety streamer currently, with plans to expand that are somewhat redacted at the moment, but they will be released to the public soon. I like to think I work closely with Elevate, if not literally on Elevate shoulders. They elevate me higher every day.
Aww.
That's what we aim to do. So we're going to jump right into streaming news. We already kind of talked about this when we didn't know we were offline, but so DLive has teamed up with BitTorrent. BitTorrent announced that they kind of joined forces with DLive. And if you're not familiar with DLive, it is a blockchain-based streaming service. I know we've talked about it before on Streamer Spotlight. We had Rabble Rods on the show, and he is a DLive streamer. So basically, DLive is joining up with BitTorrent, and they are going to be testing out their new Tron blockchain ecosystem. So basically, they're being ported onto that system, and their Lino currency, which is not their necessarily like their viewer currency, but it's more like an actual cryptocurrency that can be earned through the channel or like through a user's channel. They're going to be abandoning that and merging it in with the Tron currency, but they haven't really made clear when that's going to happen.
For the uneducated, what is a blockchain system or community?
So I'm not tech savvy at all. The way I understand blockchain is that it's basically like an encrypted type of service that uses like really advanced encryption is all I really understand about it. I'm sure somebody will make fun of me for that. Jazzy, thank you for the compliment on the shirt. You can actually buy this shirt on elevatethestore.com. If you do !store in the chat, you can get a link right to the store. And we're going to have lots of stuff coming soon, including a cute Zazzy Shark shirt, which was originally drawn by you, Jazzy. So go and check that out. So one of the things that's happening with DLive is that they're going to be merging with BitTorrent's streaming service BeLive, which I hadn't really even heard of. But they're going to be kind of merging themselves together. So we're seeing a lot of moves by the different streaming companies other than Twitch. Are either of you two that are streamers considering any kind of a move, or are you looking at your other options?
For me personally, I have no interest in. I don't have anything against any of the other platforms, but as someone who has just in general tried to grow a community both on social media and now through streaming over the lot of years, it's really hard to take a community that you have one place and transfer them to somebody else, right? So for me, I'm a year into streaming, or just over a year into streaming on Twitch. I've got a great community. I've got a good group of friends. If I suddenly upended all of that and said, hey, no, now jump over to Mixer, how many of those people would I lose? And how many actual new people would I pick up? And what's the growth curve? And I'm still not convinced that Mixer is just the right platform for me. I've heard a lot of great things about it. I know there's a lot of people going over there and doing like variety content, Dungeons and Dragons content, stuff like that. But for me personally, I don't see it beneficial. I'd rather stay where I am, and continue to grow and focus there. Because I think the biggest problem that these people have, or that people have, is that you just start fracturing yourself too much.
Yeah.
And then you never gain any traction.
What about you, Rogue?
Well, for anyone who streams, ideally, there's only really two platforms you can stream from. The biggest, the two big dogs in the streaming world, which is YouTube and Twitch, which you can both stream from. Twitch is mainly associated with streamers, which is why you find so many people there. I mean, after all, it's hosted some of the biggest streamers. Today, even if they have moved, which we've seen, especially with Ninja moving, his loss in viewership since he actually went to Mixer. But DLive, however, PewDiePie, the famous YouTuber, actually uses DLive to stream from exclusively, which I believe he has some sort of deal in the works, and he streams with like quite big people, most notably, pardon me, Jack Black, who has now stepped down, I think, from his role as an actor. But yeah, so he streams exclusively on, and I think like if it's got someone like PewDiePie backing them, I mean, for me, PewDiePie's bigger than Ninja,
right?
So why wouldn't DLive be a better platform?
So here's my 2 cents on that, because I hear what you're saying, and I think this ties into Ninja and Shroud and everybody else that has bumped over to Mixer too. There is a difference between someone like that jumping platforms or going to a new platform. First of all, there's financial backing that goes into getting them to go to those platforms, right? That's the first thing. And the second thing is that, a guy like any of those guys that they have a much easier chance of pulling an audience with them, right? But we've seen that their entire audience doesn't translate them. This goes back to even like podcasting and that sort of, because that was like the predecessor to streaming, I guess, to a certain degree, right? You saw all these people trying to build podcast communities and podcast audiences and stuff like that. And then a guy like Adam Carolla, Kevin Smith, Joe Rogan, right? Those guys come in and they dominate that entire platform. But the reason they dominate that platform is because they dominated someplace else first. They didn't start there. So again, just my opinion, but I think that if you're just starting out, maybe you want to start on one of those communities, but why you would not pick one of the top 2 or top 3 big ones?
Right.
Again, nothing against anybody that does it. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think that jumping ship as a smaller streamer, especially a variety streamer, to something like Mixer would probably be an issue. I know people that I've spoken with, and I know Rogue and Stump you too. The variety streamer community there is not as strong as it is on Twitch, and of course on YouTube you have a variety of everything, so variety flies there as well. So I know personally as a variety streamer, I would not make that jump. I considered it, but I don't think that it would be for me. So So Stump, would you, as a viewer, would you jump over and watch somebody on D Live if you found out, oh, one of the streamers that I watch on Twitch is going over there? Would that open up avenues to you to maybe look at other streamers that are over there?
I mean, it's possible. The streamers that I enjoy watching most are really the smaller community guys, the variety streamers that don't pull in a ton, and them moving over probably isn't in their best interest. I might go over and watch somebody just to check them out, but it's not something that I even set up an account to look at as of yet. So, you know, there's that hurdle just for the small market guy.
One neat thing about D Live is that you can actually log into it with your Twitch account. I don't know if you guys know that. So that does make it easy to go there and find other streamers. So what about you guys in chat? I mean, as the Elevate community and others that are coming into chat, would you be apt to jump over and watch, say, TIE Fighter if he went to D Live? Not saying that he is. But if he did, would you go over there and watch him? I think it's an interesting thing, especially because we have a community that's not necessarily focused on one streamer. You know, we have a community for kind of a conglomeration of streamers. So I just interested to see what you guys in chat think. So let us know. And I thought this was really interesting, and maybe you guys will too. So there's an esports platform that is going to be coming out called. It actually already exists, but they're getting ready to go live with their first tournaments. It's called Lowkey-gg. It is a e-sport tournament platform for adult gamers. They're particularly focused on. You're saying no already. They're particularly focused on professional organizations, like large companies and that kind of thing, setting up kind of like your company basketball or softball teams. They're hoping that they can kind of connect adult gamers together that may not necessarily jump in the esports scene as it stands. One of the things is you have to be 18 years of age, which, okay, it's an adult thing, but you also have to have a full-time job. So I'm interested. I thought it was amusing. So I wanted to get your guys' take on it.
I don't understand how, first of all, they're going to verify that. And second of all, how they're not going to knock their heads up against some sort of discriminatory violation.
Yeah.
Because saying that you want an adult platform is one thing. You want to cater to a certain demographic, which I think, by the way, is a mistake in general, right? I don't think that you need to further disseminate into that. But to then say you also have to have a full-time job. Oh, and by the way, it's going to be $13 a month.
Yeah.
On top of that,
yeah,
to just be a part of this community.
Not only $13 a month, like $40 or something like that to sign up and
to register, and then $13 a month.
To me, it kind of sounds like you're joining a fraternity where you're kind of just trying to buy your friends. That's my initial thought was it's buy a friend. And if you're talking about doing with like a work league, well, I mean, don't you play a lot of video games and do a lot of this stuff because you don't want to be with the people that you work with anymore?
I mean, kind of, yeah.
I mean, you know, unless you're working for a company that's very modern with the, you know, all the work, like, you know, if you worked for a company like Google, for example, like I would get maybe. But I would also think that Google would just be like, well, we're just going to create a Google service for our employees.
Right.
You know, call it G-Stream or some shit. And you know, but I don't understand what the market is. Because I read this article when you sent it out this morning, and I don't understand what the market is for this. Like, I know the company I work for, they'd be like, you want to do what now?
Yeah. I mean, so many companies have stringent, you know, social media policies and things too. I kind of wonder how this plays into that as well, because like if it's an esports league, I mean, I imagine it's going to be televised in some way. So what kind of hurdles do they have to jump through to do that?
I don't know. It's this to me, this This has all the markings of instant failure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the founder had previously tried something similar and it didn't quite work out. So he kind of ventured out on his own and wanted to make another go at it. And TIE Fighter, you are not an instant failure. Absolutely not. So
this is insane to me.
Yeah, I can't imagine that it has much staying power. So Rogue, will you be joining Lowkey-gg anytime soon?
Well, I don't have a full-time job.
And he's not an adult.
I was going to say, are
I'm
you
an
even
adult.
18?
I'm 21 years of age. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but in like American years, how many years is that?
American
think
years
it
are not like
equates to sort
dog
of like-
years.
Yeah, I would have. I mean, it sounds good. Like to me, just like hearing it, like if you did something you truly enjoy, like, and you want to like try and find people, I guess, with similar jobs. Because I read a bit. I went onto the arc and read a bit about it. And what it looks to do is pay with people with similar interests, essentially, sort of like Tinder for gamers, but you're not, smashing. You're playing games.
Smashing buttons.
That's it.
But yeah, it's sort of like you're sort of technically like if that's a requirement, then you're missing out on like people who stream for a living and all this stuff because like unless you make proper money off of it and stuff like that, you're losing quite a bit. Quite a huge market of gamers who may not have a full-time job, may be part-time, but just enjoy playing games or whatnot. Which I kind of see is a little bit of a downside. And like they're only launching with one game, which is League of Legends.
Yeah.
I'm like, why not launch with a couple of games? I mean, you'd limited yourself here, and like if you don't get the response you want, you don't cash your net out wide enough. You like cast it in one spot. You catch like what a couple of people, tens of people come in. And you're sort of like, well, this was as good as we thought it was.
And with the demographic that they're targeting, League of Legends does not seem like the right game.
It's a free game
to go with.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why, though.
Yeah, no, I get that it's a free game, but what I'm saying is I don't, and this is my own personal bias, right? But I don't necessarily see the types of people who would even entertain this as being big League of Legends players. Like maybe Call of Duty or maybe like a Madden League or something along those lines. League of Legends is not what I would expect. I'm reading through that article, when I got to that point, I was like, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wonder if they're launching with a game that maybe necessarily doesn't have as much of a skill gap, because you can jump on and learn to play League of Legends, where somebody who's played Madden for a long time or first-person shooters for a long time is going to dominate versus somebody who's brand new. Pays to play with other people. Yeah. So I mean, I think of it makes me think of The Office when Jim moves to a separate office and they break at lunchtime and play Call of Duty, and he's running around shooting in the air, and that's it. That was what popped into my mind. There's always an Office reference. Jazzy says, I bet Riot is helping fund it or has put up money. Riot Games, I assume they're the makers of League of Legends. It's possible that they are funding it.
I mean,
I noticed that they had other games. I noticed that they had other games set up. They just League of Legends is going to be their first.
Overwatch,
first
Dota,
tournament.
Smash.
Yeah, Smash was on there.
But what you're looking at with like a free game is that you forget like it's quite it's not got a very high PEGI rating or whatever rating they do for aging it, and it's also a free game, so anyone can buy this, which is usually likely to be kids who don't have the money or the credit card to go out and buy an expensive like a game that actually costs money. They'll be, because that's why why Fortnite's so popular, and why other free games tend to be that popular as well, because they're free. Anyone can buy it, especially with the low age rating. You don't need to verify that you're, say, over the age of 18, like with the credit card.
Right.
The guy that's running this, I mean, he seems like a scam artist. If I'm going to be completely honest, like, because did you read what the previous company? So the previous company was called Camelot, right?
Yeah.
The idea of the platform was audiences would pay to see what they want on YouTube and Twitch. Users could submit bounties to see their favorite YouTuber or Twitch streamer play a game with like pistols only, or to play a game while standing on a skateboard. I mean, everything he's doing is trying to just build off of somebody else's work, but all of these things already have those things built in, right? Like streamers have that, certain reward systems that'll, force them to only play with a certain type of weapon or a certain type of game, or, eat a stupid, disgusting tasting jelly bean. Like, there's all these things that they kind of have built. I don't know. The guy just seems like a scam artist to me.
Yeah, it's a platform that I don't see sticking around very long.
No, I concur.
So, speaking of kind of stupid things, there was a guy in Connecticut. I'm sure you guys read about this, but I don't know if anybody else caught this. A 23-year-old guy was live streaming himself, I believe, on Facebook, driving over 100 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone. He was also driving on a suspended license. A state trooper followed him as he drove off onto an exit, and he actually spun off, hit a guardrail, and rolled over. The video showed him filming his speedometer and then dropping his phone as he rolled over the hill. At the time of the crash, he was free on a $35,000 bond from an October arrest, and he was also in possession of more than an ounce of marijuana. He was detained and taken to the hospital with minor injuries, so nobody was hurt, so we can laugh about it. But this kind of raised the issue in my mind of IRL streams, because I've seen some of those like stream fails, people filming themselves, they walk into things, they fall down, whatever. Plus, we've seen a lot of horrible things happen on some live streams, and I was wondering, like, what your guys' take was as far as the streaming platforms themselves. Should they be policing this type of content? And really, how would they even go about that?
So the article talks about, should they be policing it? I don't think we need a task force monitoring like live streaming to see who's doing it. I mean, to me, that's insane. And I'm not a fan of like adding new laws on top of, like, I'm not a fan of the cell phone laws, for example. Mm-hmm. Not because I understand that it's safe, right? But I feel like the cell phone laws are redundant. We have reckless driving, right, and that's all you need, right? And if you can drive on a cell phone and not drive recklessly, do it, and if you're driving recklessly, that's what the law is. So this guy's just an idiot. I mean, and he's not the first idiot, and he won't be an idiot, and he should be penalized as such. I don't think we need a whole new like task force or set of laws to address this type of thing, because I think that's a slippery slope.
Right. What do you think about the companies themselves? Like, should they be doing anything outside of the wall to try to get this kind of content off before somebody's killed in a car accident live on stream, or a shooting happens?
So the only thing I could think is they could enable something like like Waze has that you shouldn't be searching right now because you're driving. Oh no, you're the passenger, click a button. Like, I guess they could build something like that into the mobile app of the game, but still, what's to stop you from clicking the fucking button? I mean, I do it on Waze all the time. So
release of liability.
Yeah, I guess it's a release of liability, but again, do we really think that these companies should be held liable if someone uses the platform to do that? I mean, the person is clearly just in violation of the law anyway.
Right.
Like, take away the marijuana, take away all the other stuff he did prior to this. He was speeding. right? He was clearly driving reckless. Did the streaming contribute to that, or was he driving reckless because he was trying to show off? Like, I don't know that Facebook has. I'm sure someone will say that Facebook has liability, but I don't know that Facebook should have liability. This is where
I don't necessarily think that they should hold the liability there. It's just kind of more of a, should there be a, like in my mind, I question, should there be a safety net? Like, you know, if X amount of percentage of the people watching a stream like that, you know, hit some kind of emergency report, you know, could it be shut down? That kind of thing.
right.
But that opens you up to trolls and that kind of thing. What do you think, Stump?
I mean, I agree with Geek to an extent. If you end up policing these guys too much, you know, you've just created a lot of laws or red ink for no reason. But there's another side of the coin. I mean, that guy is clearly the brightest bulb. You know, I've kind of lost my train of thought, to be honest, but just a winner right there.
Kate wants to know if he was hands-free. Something tells me he was not. Apparently, Mr. Tofu says there's oh, what was that? I missed that. Thank you for that follow. I couldn't quite see who that was, but thank you very much. Mr. Tofu says that there is somebody on Twitch that actually follows cops and will live stream them, which is seems really dangerous to me.
Yeah. Again, but that, you know, that guy is his own problem, and I think there are methods to. My problem is putting. I have a real concern with putting all of that responsibility back on the platforms, because I think it's easy to abuse, and I think, as someone who works in risk management and has worked in risk management, I think the problem is once they put something in place to potentially police it, be it a button, be it an alert that says, you know, we can tell you're driving, any of those things, right? Then that company is now obligated to actually police it.
Yeah.
And if they don't police it, then they are actually liable, right? Whereas now they're still sitting in this gray area. And I'm not saying the company should get away with it, but I'm a big proponent of, we have to accept some amount of personal responsibility in these things. And I just don't know that it's their job to police that.
I don't get to sue Jack Daniels because I did something stupid after I had a few. You know.
No, but you do get to sue the bar that served it. If you had it at a bar,
it's probably my house.
Right. Okay. Well, that's different. But so that's another law that I don't agree with. I know we're getting on a tangent, but that's another law that I don't necessarily agree with. That you could go back and sue the bar. Yeah. Like, because, you know, if anybody's actually spent any amount of time in a bar with their friends, I mean, I've spent entire evenings in a bar with my friends and gone to the bar. You know, if it's my birthday, for example, right? And people are buying me drinks. Well, how the hell does the bartender know that I'm already 3 sheets to the wind, and how is he liable for me?
Because they have to monitor where every drink is going.
Yeah. Good luck in a bar with, you know, hundreds upon hundreds of people on a Saturday night. I get it. Yeah. I just don't think, to me, it's insane. Like, those laws are insane to me.
No, I worked in a restaurant for quite a while, and we had to monitor how many drinks went to, you know, tables that I never saw. And so, I mean, I know exactly how that feels, and no. Yeah. That's not happening.
So, anyway.
So, Rogue, my question for you is, how did you get into Connecticut and manage to get arrested live stream?
Well, I managed to smuggle in a pass through a monkey. Going on to the sort of the liable thing, I think YouTube do quite a nice way of doing it, where they have like a strike system, which I think, even if it's just for IRL streams, would be a good way to sort of police that and make sure that people that do it don't do it for long, or some sort of like trust system where if you rack up enough time on streams with no sort of reports or anything like that, then you are able to sort of how like you unlock affiliate or partner, and then you can sort of be like, okay, you're eligible for live streaming now. We trust you. Don't mess it up. You got and then if you do
That's
something silly
interesting.
in that live stream, they knock you back or they just bar you from it, depending on the severity of the incident, which I think is quite a nice idea. It takes away from that sort of thing that can be abused, where it's just like if you have a button that sort of the minute you shuts it down, yeah, it's open for trolls. That will 100% happen, especially in geek streams. We know geek receives a lot of trolls here. But like, especially with the button, because iPhone do it as well. When you're driving, or when you're in the passenger seat, or when you're on the bus, it'll say on your phone, if you have an iPhone, that you're moving to. In fact, are you driving? Press this button if you're not the driver. Which, to be fair, I'm not gonna lie, I have been on my phone in the car and just clicked it. Like, it's become second nature to me now. I can click it without even looking at it.
Yeah.
And it's too easy to get around. And even though it takes liability away from them, then they're still not protecting people as much as they think they are. Or
Really, they're just protecting themselves at that point.
they're just covering their own asses. Which is, we get that. I think a trust system, especially on Twitch, with so much happening, like not Facebook, YouTube do a really good strike system. I mean, it's a bit faulty. I mean, obviously they'd use AI to sort of get stuff right or wrong in the eyes of a video, which that's open to debate whether the video is right or wrong or not. But I think having a trust system based on like how many reports you get or something like that, and then some like a bot fact checking the like the reports, stuff like that. I think that would be a good move in like retaliation to save something major happened on a Twitch stream.
That could get very top heavy, I think, if they start fact checking everything. I mean, you're talking about millions of videos and streams. That would be.
That's why you get a robot to it.
Yeah, it would have to be AI, I would think, at that point.
But I'm on about, like, it's not checking like what you stream, is checking the reports made against you, and it's sort of, if there is a major violation, then it sort of checks that stream, sort of be like, oh, has this happened or whatnot? I don't know. I'm not a coder, but like I think YouTube have a nice idea with the strike system.
Interesting. So, speaking of bots, well, I don't know that this was a bot, but it was a cheater, at least, using some kind of an aim bot. So Dr. Disrespect, the two-time champ, if you're not familiar with him, was killed by a hacker after spending about 15 to 20 minutes in a round of PUBG. That's Player Unknown Battleground. It's a game that he plays quite a bit. I think probably most everybody is at least vaguely familiar with that game. It's like a battle royale game. No building though in that game. He quickly reported the player that killed him, and then uninstalled the game and kind of went on a little rant about the developer of the game that has taken over. I guess the continued development of the game, kind of saying that they're adding things that people don't want, but ignoring major issues, and adding stuff that you can buy, microtransactions, that kind of thing, and just complaining about the overall continued development of the game. And now, like, no matter what you think of Dr. Disrespect, because he's not for everybody, having a major streamer trash your game like that live on stream's not good. So what I was thinking about when I read this story is that we have so many smaller indie games and like not AAA titles coming out that just seem to me kind of unfinished and just broken when they come out. And I was kind of wondering, like, what your guys' take on that is. Like, what do you think these developers need to do to kind of what do they need to do to roll these games out in a better fashion and should people stick by the games really when they continue to ignore the complaints?
I mean, it sounds like for this game, I don't play PUBG, but I've watched other people play it. It sounds like this is less of a rollout issue, right, and more of a continuation issue. But for rollouts, we see a lot of these games come out that clearly needed a couple extra weeks.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is there's a rush to market. And I've never understood why the developers rush to market, because all they end up breeding is a sour taste amongst the players. Most players would rather wait a couple extra months to have a game that's complete and solid and ready to go than, buy a game that's super buggy. And, for a lot of people outside of like streamers, I think you hear a lot of people are like, well, I'll wait a couple weeks till the first couple patches come out. Streamers have a different kind of thought process, I think, because a lot of streamers are quick to play. It is the hot game. Let's jump on it now.
Sure.
But in regards to what Dr. Disrespect was saying, and I'm not a Dr. Disrespect fan, but I think his complaints are all valid. And it sounds like the game is sort of eating itself whole, right? They canceled their esports leagues or their esports competitions because player numbers are dropping. And so one of two things is going to happen. It's just going to fade into the background. Or they're going to actually listen and make the changes. I suspect they're just going to fade because it sounds like they're a bit stubborn and they're trying to just rest on their laurels. But I don't think it's going to last very long. It doesn't sound like, and definitely it's a mighty blow when a large personality comes out and sort of trashes the game.
Yeah, and I mean, Dr. Disrespect was involved, I think, in the early original development of that game too. So them not listening to him now when he's making these complaints I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. It seems like they're maybe purposefully letting it die. I'm not.
The big question is why they've stopped ignoring them. Because if they were paying attention before, why have you stopped listening to one guy who is giving you good criticism that you can actually take to the bank?
I think some of the original team have moved on to maybe a different game. And this is another company or a different team within the company that's taken it over. Rogue?
I mean, PUBG is technically the original big boy in the battle royale scene.
Yeah, it's the great grandfather, right?
It's where Fortnite stemmed from. And what Fortnite did was they introduced the game, but they made it free. And they aimed it at kids, which is the two best things you can do: free and aim it at kids. That's the money maker. And have some in-game microtransactions that don't actually affect the game, but they cost a lot of money and they're rare. But like they have all that, and people play PUBG for the realism. And if there's bugs in the game, they're going to get picked up on because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for realism. They're not looking for hackers to come because that's not what they play the game for, especially if you go to the game to play it for realism, because it is a realistic looking game. You want realism, and when that's the thing they need to focus on. I don't think the company that own it are very good at marketing to with the game, or sort of taking in criticism, because like as soon as I think Fortnite was announced and all that stuff, they then thought it was a good idea to specifically bring PUBG to Xbox. And then I assume most of you heard what happened when they did the first day of launch in Xbox. It was atrocious. Nothing would load. People would just fade through things. And it's just not what we expect. People play PUBG for realism. And if you can't supply realism, don't bother making the game, because you're missing the only niche you're trying to get into there. Because obviously you're in a Russian territory, and you're going in and you back in or whatever, and like the graphics around you are amazing. They're good graphics, but like, if you glitch through the floor, if you get aimbotted, it's gonna especially when you can't do anything about it. Like a Fortnite doesn't. Sort of everyone knows it's a bit over the top, which is kind of one of the reasons why I sort of don't play as much as I did. because people can just do like use stuff that has just been introduced. So like for example, teleportation, so you can like teleport and get the upper hand. I'm just like, okay, where did that come from? So for me, I would, if I was to play any battle royale, it'd probably be PUBG, but with all, I'd play it for the realism and the boots on the ground, and they're not jumping around everywhere. It's just straightforward, shoot them. But if stuff like that's going to happen, where it disrupts the continuity, like the continuous realism that you're trying to get from the game, then it's not doing what its greatest asset is, and it's sort of,
well, and who wants to
it's
play a
shooting
game
itself in the foot.
who wants to play a game that's unwinnable if you're playing
Yeah.
against bots? You know,
I mean, you look at Fortnite. Even Fortnite is a very stable game in itself, and like why don't they just like take a leaf out of there? But like they took a leaf out of PUBG's, but PUBG just is the same, because I think PUBG even tried to sue Fortnite at one point and be like, "No, that's our game." Don't sue them. They just made it better. Just you got to play the game.
So I think a lot of times you see in these situations hubris that goes on, right? I think what's happening in PUBG, or what it sounds like, is that we know what we're doing. We've been doing this for so long. We're the originators of this type of content. We'll be fine. And I think the problem with the Dr. Disrespect situation, and maybe why they don't take it serious, this isn't the first time that he's done an install of the game on a stream after a rager, right? He uninstalled it, and then a few months later, he loaded it back on and started playing again. So, I think if he's actually, from Dr. Disrespect's standpoint, if he's actually trying to make a statement and impact, it's the worst thing you can do is to go back, load it on, and then play again, because the creators are just like, see,
yeah,
he just needed a few months to cool down.
Well,
Give him a Snickers bar.
Jazzy's comment in chat kind of made me think, like, the games that I've seen come out that have had a lot of issues, the developer, and there are plenty of them, the developers that do the job of communicating in forums or on social media and really like listening and trying to keep the community involved in fixing the game, those games make it through that kind of period where, okay, this game is a pile of hot garbage when it comes out, but people work through it, and then eventually, like a game like I'm trying to think, like the Pathfinder Kingmaker game had a lot of problems when it came out, but the development team was very active in the community, and now the game is one of my favorite games to play because they fixed all the problems, and they kept the community involved in fixing those problems. And I think that other games like 7 Days, that had a lot of problems, and it still has its problems, but they continually try to make it better, where it sounds like PUBG is just adding microtransactions, that kind of thing, things that don't really improve the game. So speaking of companies that have bad PR and don't really do a good job of fixing things, late last month, a PlayStation Network data miner site called GameStat picked up what appeared to be files that were linked to the PlayStation Store, showing a Final Fantasy VII remake demo. It had art assets, download file sizes, and it pretty much looked like the real deal. And then a few days ago, 2 videos were uploaded to a YouTube channel called LMV2, which appeared to show the opening sequence of the long-awaited remake, which I'm very excited about because I love Final Fantasy VII. So it was really, really sweet to see. And I know probably we all know that Sony's had huge security issues in the past. I mean, people's data getting stolen, the network constantly being DDoS. They've had a hard time in the past few years. So I looked at this and I was like, okay, so either this is showing me that their security is still awful, that this was able to happen. I mean, because this is a big game for them. It's always been a big game for them. Or it's a really, really terribly thought out marketing campaign. So I just wanted to get your guys' take on it. And are you excited to play the Final Fantasy VII remake?
I'm excited to play because, like you, I'm a fan of the game. Has some of my favorite Final Fantasy, like Vincent Valentine is probably FF character ever. It doesn't sound like it's a bad marketing plan. I think it's an oopsie on Sony's part. I almost wonder though if because of what the content actually is, maybe it wasn't behind all their security. Because when I first saw the headline of this article and I thought that the leaked videos were going to be a lot bigger than they actually were.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal, but is it really that big a deal? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
So, do you think it was a marketing ploy, or do you think this?
No, I don't think it was a marketing ploy. I think it's something that's going to actually sooner than later, and maybe it just wasn't locked down as much as it should have been. I don't know that it was necessarily like a big sort of breach, but you know how firewalls work, right? You have multiple level certain files that sit behind. They sit further back on the firewall than they are. This might have been close to the surface because maybe we're getting ready to see this hit the store live in its entirety, and somebody found it. For all we know, it was sitting there live but not locked down at all. It just wasn't linked, and somebody got in there. I'm not saying that's still not an issue on Sony's part. It clearly should still be locked down. What I am saying is that I kind of feel like it's over. I don't know. I feel like it's a lot of excitement over a lot of nothing.
But any press is good press, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter which way it goes. They still have a lot more ink than they had before, and what did it cost them?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't a really bad marketing ploy, but maybe it was low-hanging bait.
Oh yeah.
Like they didn't actually push it out there themselves, but they were like, what, if someone grabs this and throws it online, what's the worst that'll happen? A lot of people get really hyped for the game we're about to launch.
Yeah.
Just
a free Easter egg.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Sony's had like 3 instances that I remember anyway in my past Sony experience where they've had a game and people kind of know it's coming. And somehow, somewhere on some time zone, they posted something to the store accidentally, or made it available to purchase a game that isn't out yet, and then they keep it up there for like what seems to be like 5 minutes, and then they take it down again. I think we got that for a previous COD game as well, where people were trying to speculate what it was. I think it was Modern Warfare 3 back in the day. People were trying to speculate what it was, but then it popped up, and people were like, "Oh, it's that." So it's hard to tell because it is put on there, but it's only put on there for a short time, and it's only in selective countries, is what I heard from not this one but the last one. Because I'm not surprised, I'm not a big Final Fantasy. I've never played it, but I'll be sure to give it a try. Yeah, it's hard to see if it's an actual marketing ploy, because it could well be like, it could be like a little bit of dust to like, so you can snap it up and be hyped for the game, as you said, Geek. But I don't know, because it's happened so many times. It can't be a mistake, otherwise they're big dum-dums.
I hadn't really thought about it being a kind of a low-hanging fruit, like you said. That hadn't really occurred to me, that they might have just pushed it out there far enough for somebody to grab.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So speaking of poorly thought out things and things that are rolled out horribly, it's a continuing trend. The WWE 2K20 game is having a lot of problems. So at launch, it had tons of like animation and graphical issues, character models that would morph into like aberrations and horrible, like monstrous giant creatures in the middle of the ring, and they had missing assets that which might not be too far off for WWE, but missing assets to the game that were supposed to be there, and then they got a lot of bad press for that. But as time went on, they kind of have fixed some of those things. But then on New Year's Day at midnight, a brand new bug, kind of akin to the Y2K bug, struck, and basically when midnight hit, the game shut down. It stopped being playable, and it caused quite a freak out because wrestling fans can be pretty passionate.
You don't say.
And they managed to work it out. Some of the savvier gamers rolled their clocks back, and they realized that it was just a clock error. And they were able to fix it rather quickly. They found the devs rolled out in kind of a quick fashion as well a patch for the problem, and they were able to kind of fix it within the day, I believe. So with all the problems that this game's had and kind of some of the past titles, do you think that we'll see any more of these games stump?
Oh, I wholeheartedly believe they'll continue to make the same game every year. It'll continue to have all these problems. I mean, you look at some of the previous issues we were talking about. They make these games and they don't listen to all of their criticism, or they don't take the extra couple weeks to make sure that the game has been play tested, or that the patches are adequate or not going to cause some kind of issue. And you have some catastrophic failure like this. And I mean, it's kind of a giant joke at that point, right? Like you just know it's coming.
I've seen with the 2K wrestling games, it's like they'll take an off year and they'll kind of just let the game be crap and sort of just a worse version of the year before. And then because they're really working on the next gen game, and now with the next gen consoles coming out, you have to think that they're kind of looking towards that. And I wonder if that's what happened here.
It's entirely possible. I mean, yeah, they do a lot of times reskin those games where they just maybe improve the graphics a little bit, and that's the biggest change. There's mechanically, it's the same game. They're not adding anything new. They're not changing the gameplay at all. It's just, the same exact setup, the same characters, all of it. So,
have you guys played any of the 2K games?
I'm not a WWE guy, so I was back in the day, but no, I haven't played any games recently. So
I think the last one I played was like 2017. 2K17.
Well, it sounds like you're with the rest of the world who wasn't able to play them.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Maybe it's just I wasn't able to play them.
Yeah.
I mean, a mate of mine streams sort of like I like how he streams WWE 2K19, which is the one before, and he streams sort of like his own wrestling league thing, which I sort of take part in. I've never played a game myself, but I've been tempted to buy it. But like hearing all this backlash from 2020, I'm like, nah, I'm good, fam.
Yeah.
Just like I'd much prefer to watch it than sort of play it. But it's just sort of like because I believe the WWE 2K 20 owned by EA.
I believe so.
Yeah, well, it's the same with every one of their games. They
I was
bring
going
out
to say
Madden,
this is an EA
they bring out FIFA.
Yeah.
They do better, but they know they dominate those markets. They know that they're smart businessmen. They sort of go like, okay, we own all these things. We've not got any competition, so we can keep releasing the same old crap, and people have no choice if they enjoy this sport.
You're taking off here.
Choice to buy it. Yeah, because they're gonna want to play it. They're gonna want to play a good wrestling game, and at the moment, even those bugs, to be 2K20 or whatever game it will be made by EA that's sports related, will be currently the best on the market.
Apparently 2K is its own company, Red Fox.
Oh yeah.
So, and they dominate everything, basically. I wonder if WWE will go a different direction, considering now they have I know I've read that like New Japan Wrestling has something in the works as far as the game, and I know AEW does. which is kind of their up and coming rival. So I wonder if they'll move away from the 2K franchise and sort of go back to their older ways.
But even as not like a current WWE fan, I'm I still follow the stuff that sort of goes around that you see it going on social media, etc. And it seems like WWE is another one of those countries or companies rather that is kind of just resting on their brand name.
Yeah.
No matter how bad it gets, no matter what crap they put out, people will still consume it. They'll bitch about it.
Yeah.
But they'll tune in every week.
Yeah.
They'll tune in every single week to watch it. So, at the same time, it kind of goes back to what Rogue said, where they're smart. They know that they can continue to put out a deficient product, and people are going to consume it no matter what. What's the motivating factor to change it?
Do you think it might open up a window in the market for one of these other companies, AEW, to start making their own game? Because hey, look, 2K took an off year. We're gonna put out a superior product now, kind of thing. I kind of wonder.
Well, so and absolutely, and this is the fall of the Roman Empire, right? They get too comfortable, they get too big for their own, for their own good. They no longer have the passion and the drive to put out the quality product, assuming and hoping that their fan base just stays. But all it takes is one really strong rival to upend that. And I would think in gaming and wrestling and other entertainment, like Fortnite, right? I mean, it's certainly ripe for the picking. So whoever it is that's going to come up next and put out a game, they need to put out a pristine game. To me, the most important part of this story is how other game developers in this market move forward.
Yeah.
They've got to put out a pristine game and really take out, they're not going to get dominance right away, but they got to knock them down a few pegs and show that,
Yeah.
In a perfect world, you get the duopoly there instead of having the ruling class there. 2K, right. Just everyone. I mean, you use the two games to propel each other forward and actually make better products every year rather than just resting on their previous victories.
Exactly.
I know. Go ahead.
So I know you guys aren't really football fans, but in UK, anyway, we're big football fans. If you haven't told already, but there is a rival game to FIFA. It's called PES. Not sure if you guys know it or not. It's called PES. PS Pro Soccer Evolution, Pro Evolution Soccer, something like that. And they were in the lead for ages until FIFA came along, and sort of took over. They're now leading. Pro Evolution Soccer still makes games, and it's still up there. But FIFA does it, even though it has, people will rage at FIFA so much, it still is up there. It's the way they do the games. It's weird because they know they take the best approach to a game that they can. Let's put like, this is me just speaking from FIFA here. Like, the PES controls are weird. They're completely weird. I think they have a problem with button mapping and all that stuff, which I don't like at all. Which makes it hard if you play, which kind of ties into the rest of it. If you play a game for so long, so if you've been playing 2K 19 and then 20 or whatnot, you're going to get into a groove of how you play a wrestling game, and it's going to affect how you, unless the button mapping's the same, it's going to affect how you play another game, and it's going to sort of hold you away from it, which I think, maybe not too much, but that's what stops me from playing PES. I mean, PES probably is a better game in general, but like, I could not get used to the buttons. It's just like, it's completely different to what I'm used to playing FIFA, even though it scratches the itch, but it always leaves a little bit more itch. It just scratches, but let's go like a second too early.
That's why classic NES was the best. You know, A punched, B kicked, and that's all you needed to know.
Yeah, yeah.
Now you've got
No, I
like,
think there
triggers.
does have to be a certain level of parity across, especially like a genre like a sports game, where like if you really want to make a run, you know, as a smaller developer at a big game like that, you have to kind of incorporate, you know, the features that people at least do like
I've
button
always-
mapping, things like
I've always liked the games that allow you to change the button mapping. I mean,
Yeah.
not like I guess some of the major sports games, but like Halo, for instance, you can change your button mapping, and they have like known loadouts for it. So I've always kind of liked that, but I don't guess that maybe that's something they don't do.
Yeah, that's the thing I hate when people, when games companies, they have like, they give you set button maps. So it's like you get the tactician, you get the builder, you get the pro strat combat destroyer 9000. It's like, just let me organize my own buttons in the way I want.
Yeah.
You don't need to name these things. You don't need to give me options. Just let me name my buttons, and I'll do just fine.
That's it. And that, you know, that comes from the, you know, that the mentality that allow you to map your own PC gaming mentality. You know, like when I played WoW, you know, like my button layout was nothing like the people who played similar character classes to me, but for me it worked perfectly. You know, for the way I played the game. So yeah,
I think for PC it's a lot easier.
of
Because
course.
I played my transition from PS4 Rocket League to PC Rocket League, and I found that first of all the button mapping was atrocious on Rocket League. The standard button mapping is awful. So I did a bit of arranging, and I find it comfortable now. I can't use it as good as a controller because I'm obviously using a controller, but I can play at least somewhat decently.
I try playing SNES games with a keyboard. It's pretty tough. Yes, I am old and I play NES and SNES games still. Which brings me to the next point. So a study by AARP, which I get mail for, you know, I'm about to turn 35 and I get mail from the AARP, and I have for quite some time.
You kids are so cute with your 30s and 20s and such.
Yeah. The elder statesman, GeekStuffOG.
It's in the name.
So the AARP reported that 40.2 million older adult gamers, which is 50 plus for their survey in 2016, while there are now over 50.6 million, so basically almost 10.5 million jump there. Over a third of these gamers report themselves as constantly trying new games, and fewer of them are reporting looking to their children or grandchildren to find new games. The number of seniors playing on phones, tablets, and other devices increased from 57 to 73%. The share of those playing on PCs decreased from 59 in 2016 to 47%. Most of those switching to a tablet. Do you think that this rise in number will correlate with the adult gaming leagues and maybe make that fly?
Yeah. No, I mean, no. I honestly looking at the statistic and doing the quick math. Like, this is the no shit show. Sherlock, sorry. I said I was going to try not. This is the no, you know, as Sherlock statistic of the week because, you know, 50 plus, right? 50 plus. You're right in that window of, you know, being at the right age to play NES when it first, probably having grown up on Atari. And I know I'm significantly younger than 50 plus still, believe it or not. But I mean, I had Coleco and Atari. I had a Commodore 64 that I played Zork on, you know, so like, of course, like 50 plus is like, you know, you were what, in your teens when NES came out? So those people have been, or a lot of them, I would think, have been some sort of gamer their entire lives.
Yeah, at least in some capacity.
At least in some capacity, right? And if not from a console standpoint, certainly arcade standpoint, even. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, this is just a rolling statistic. You're going to see this change, you know, accordingly every year. Those numbers will continue to drop, and that's just how it is because these people have been gamers our whole life.
TIE Fighter X1 in chat says that that's probably your sister on the center picture there.
It is. And funny enough, my younger sister.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite. I thought it was interesting. They're playing tablet games, so I don't know if that means they're playing like Words with Friends or they're playing PUBG Mobile.
Well, it's sort of like Candy Crush and all that. Like,
that's
the
what
amount of mums I know that play Candy Crush is just insane. Like they just play that for days, and they're like pro gamers at Candy Crush. They're on like level 400 while I'm on level 50. I don't care much of the game, but they literally, because they have a lot of free time. They don't like to admit it, but they have a lot of free time, and they spend all that free time playing Candy Crush and getting the levels. And then I recently found out my mum completed all the levels on Candy Crush. There are over 700 levels on Candy Crush.
Wow.
And I'm just like, she's more of a pro gamer than I am.
Until my wife started working recently, she was the number 3 ranked player in the world on the Trailer Park Boys mobile game. They never paid a cent, and the other 2 people that were on there were so far ahead of her. They definitely were paying for stuff. So it's if you got a little time on your hands, you can play.
Yeah, but I think it's just the integration of technology. Like everyone's becoming more tech savvy. The longer it's around, the more people are gonna be like, okay, it's time to pick it up now and sort of do that. And I think the number's going to get increasingly bigger because as time's gone on, gaming has come more into the mainstream, and then more people are playing it, and then you've got the people that are playing it now that are going to come older and probably still play it because they still love video games. And I think the number's going to grow anyway. Like the amount of people that have tablets nowadays other than laptops, because people have said, oh, your iPads also can do everything your laptop does, but it's smaller and you can see it on a big screen and you can click things with you can read it really big, and that's going to be main attraction for people because you can adjust to how big you see the screen. Like you can have the words like that big on your screen, which is going to be and it's obviously cheaper as well. No one's going to pay.
Yeah, they also added the senior text as well in there.
Yeah,
that's right.
So you can get it bigger.
It reads aloud to you, just everything, plays videos. Yeah, and it's a couple hundred quid, where a laptop's going to run you at least 400 to 500 quid.
Yeah,
and you can just get an old iPad for like 200,
200 or 300. Yeah,
well, technology is just becoming so commonplace. I mean, how many pieces of equipment do you have in front of you that you can play a game on?
I do think about it.
Right?
A lot.
Like anyone watching, I mean, the number is going to be a handful, probably. Like, and that's just in one room. In your house, how many? It's ridiculous, and the number's just going to keep going up. So more and more people are going to have that availability where they can pick up any device they want. I mean, you got a smart TV. Well, at what point do we start building gaming systems into smart TVs?
Well, you could already play certain types of games on smart TV.
See, there you go.
Play games like Candy Crush, I think.
It doesn't surprise me, but
cloud gaming is kind of the next big step, and I mean they're already moving towards that. Once that becomes a thing, I mean, kind of all bets are off.
Do you guys have the big red button in America, where you press the red button on your controller and then you go into like a little games hub? Do you ever had that? We have that in UK.
No.
We have a thing called Sky, who's our you click the big red button, and then it takes you to a game zone, and then you can play it. And that was literally before like you even had this was before phones. Like this was quite early on. This was like when you were 10 or something like that. And before you got your phone, because believe it or not, when I was 10, I got my first phone, which is weird in this day and age. Like it's normally like 5 when you get your first phone nowadays. But like you'd go on Sky and you'd look it up, and then you click the big red button, and then you'd play a really bad game on a controller.
A TV remote controller.
You would play the game on a TV remote controller, and it was fun.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
But that was like one of my earliest gaming experiences anyway. Like, but I grew up around like Game Boys and the PlayStation 1 and mainly around the PlayStation 2.
I saw a meme earlier today that was like swapping out dead batteries for almost dead batteries. Like only us older folks will. Now we do that with our Xbox controller.
When you take the one battery out of the middle, and
Yeah.
you swap it with the one on the right, and then you spin them all.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
spin them.
Oh.
You got to spin them. Or set them on
spin 'em.
top the microwave.
Yeah, it's
I
you
used
get like
to get-
another 30 minutes.
Lick your finger and just clean the plates just to make sure there's no,
Good contact.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
kind of miss blowing into cartridges. That
It's
was
true.
Yeah.
your cardio.
Jesus,
up.
blowing
I
it.
did not know about blowing into cartridges until like my mate came over with a or is this the Nintendo 64, and he was like, "Oh, you got to blow into it," and I'm like,
What?
"Okay." I like that. The first time I did it, I'm not gonna lie, I was 16 when I first blew into a cartridge. Everyone knows the first time.
I feel like a
they
lot of
blew
people have that story.
But yeah, I
Who's
was
the guy who
like,
decided that was
insanely
how you
old.
fix it?
I don't know. He just told me to
Well-
blow into it. I was like, "This is just what they do."
I mean, I remember for my NES, right? If blowing into it didn't work anymore, you had to turn power without the cartridge in there.
Yeah.
Then you had to put the cartridge in and push it down, and then
Yeah.
hit reset,
Then
Yeah.
you crush your fingers really hard.
and hope that all of your Zelda saved and get in the process.
Yeah, I mean,
You might have to
waiting for
take
that
a
thing to
Q-tip.
load.
I can remember
Sort of
taking a
text your
Q-tip
face.
with alcohol
Uh-huh.
and rubbing that along the chip.
Cleaning the contacts.
Yep.
Do it.
Picture of Jack Daniels just appears on the screen. You uploaded the Jack
Not
Daniels.
that kind of alcohol. All right, so let's move into some entertainment news. This is what I was excited to talk about: The Witcher versus Mandalorian. So everybody's watched both, right?
Yeah.
I have not watched Witcher yet.
Strap
I'm like-
yourselves in, folks. This is going to
I'm
be a long
halfway
ride.
through, so I haven't finished
Watch
it.
both completely.
Same.
Love them.
So, Witcher actually outperformed Mandalorian, according to some of the latest numbers. And I was kind of thinking, is this because of Disney Plus? Like Disney Plus, I don't think is available in England, right? Right, Rose?
It's not available in England, but we have ways. We have our magical British ways.
Yeah, but that doesn't
Most
give
of us
you
see.
the viewing numbers, right?
Right, that doesn't
It
give us
doesn't,
viewing numbers.
but-
That's
Yeah.
There is a craze going on in the UK right now about Baby Yoda. It
Such
hurts
the
me.
UK, sir.
It hurts me so much because first of all, he isn't freaking Yoda. He's Yoda's same species.
Yeah.
An unnamed species.
And
That's
he's quite old for because even though he looks young, he's
like
meant to be
50.
quite old.
That's right.
He's meant to be like 70 years old.
I thought it was 50.
An anonymous gifter,
Nothing about it.
thank you so much for those 2 gift subs. The official Rogue, you just got a gift sub. And Mr. Tofu, congrats on the.
That means I don't have to spend
on the-
money.
Excellent. Red Fox made a good point. Witcher outperformed because T-Mobile is paying for people's Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like it's a good way. Like the Witcher series has done wonders for Netflix now because Netflix were going to lose to. Let's face it, they were on the way out for Disney Plus. Like Disney Plus were going to, I think, in my opinion, with the Marvel, Star Wars, and all that stuff being retracted and sort of made into
And the
their own
money
stuff.
of it all.
Yeah, I mean, Marvel's like one of the biggest franchises in the world, but
Yeah.
that Witcher series, like
The
they could have
subscription
made
stuff.
it like the rest of the series, but they got a good actor, a good mainstream actor who has played the games and has read the books and knows what he's doing, and they actually pumped a bit of money into it, and they actually thought about it, and they made it. I've watched the full bit of The Witcher. I literally can't get it out of my head. It's such a good.
Oh,
If you've listened to the song, if you haven't listened to the song yet, don't listen to it. It'll get stuck in your head for years. But
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
song
it's
ringing in
definitely
my
an
head is just
earworm.
like,
So I haven't read or really played the game. The only real exposure I have to the game is actually when you played it on your stream, Rogue. So as somebody who's read or played, how does it hold up? Because I've heard some complaints at first, but then I've heard a lot of good things.
it doesn't really tell you exactly how things are done. If you're familiar with the novels and you're familiar with the games, you know exactly what he's doing in pretty much everything. Like he sometimes, to not quite spoil it, sometimes he chucks a potion or something like throughout the thing. It happens. It's medieval times. It's a fantasy novel. They chuck potions.
oh,
So
well.
he chucks a potion, but they don't tell you what the potion does. You
Right.
see it affect him. They don't tell you what it does. So it's I think it's I think they sort of do it as a fan payoff. So if you have watched it, or it kind of not forces you, but sort of makes you want to look into it more. So you've got the potions, and you got the which you can also do spells and stuff. Only a select handful, like I don't know, push or um, like a fire breath attack. Something like that. It doesn't do many. I mean, the Witcher is essentially just a human person with this that has
Fighter,
literally
thank you for those bits.
that has literally just been enhanced through magic, through black scary magic. So it holds up pretty well. It doesn't really explain anything, which I like that. It doesn't have to, because new people for the people who know what they do, they don't have to say, oh, this is this potion, this gives me this. No one really wants that. No one really wants to see the Witcher explain what the potions do, or give it to the Witcher and be like, oh, this potion does that. The Witcher already knows. He's been around for ages now because he has an extended lifespan, which people who have watched the series may know. But like it hints. The sort of it does a very good job, but you'll love it, but you'll want to. It sort of grabs you into to want more, and then as soon as you learn the lore about it, you'll love it even more.
So that was going to be my next question. Does it leave you wanting more the way the Mandalorian did? Because I know the Mandalorian actually, for me, kind of rekindled my drive for Star Wars, where now I've gone back and I've rewatched the original trilogy, and I've actually caught up and watched all other than the movie that's in the theaters. I've watched all the other movies because of Mandalorian. Like Mandalorian just kind of reignited that for me.
Yeah, well, it's the payoff at the end of Mandalorian. I'm spoiling it, but the payoff at the end of Mandalorian is well worth it. I mean, it sort of makes me question like what's going to happen. Like, how closely do they want to tie it into main Star Wars? Because judging by the end, they want to close it quite tightly, like a nice it's side, but it's still connected, because you get a lot of stuff that's sort of out of the way. I don't want it to be out of the way. I want it to clash with the actual films and such like that. We don't know what will happen in second season, but the end of Mandalorian has definitely sort of, because I'm a professional Star Wars fan. That is my profession, and I literally love what they did, and I can't wait for that. I think it has beaten Witcher in sort of the anticipation for the next season, but then again, the way The Witcher ended, it's sort of like, okay, that's happened, because you know what, the Witcher's already been told in novels and the games, so you kind of know what's going to happen anyway, because it's already been told and they follow the storyline. Maybe not too close to the bone, but still it's quite close. So you know what's going to happen, but you're like, okay, that's happened. Let's see what happens from here. But I like how the Mandalorian, the mystery behind it is what gives it the real taste.
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when I was looking at the article before, I think just to point out a specific bit about it, it beat it in that final week. It beat it in that 1 week. And it had more impressions than The Mandalorian. Now, that was the week of the final episode of The Mandalorian. The final episode of The Mandalorian actually came out on the 27th. And this statistic is talking about the week of the 20th to the 20th to the 28th, I think, or there's something like that. So it's kind of a weird comparison to make.
Yeah.
So I have two thoughts on that. First of all, I wonder if The Witcher got more overall impressions because it was released later. You had people binging it.
Yeah.
Versus a weekly release that The Mandalorian had. The Mandalorian was also right at the end of its run that week, with the final episode only debuting a day before the end of this period took place. Now, that's not to take anything away from The Witcher. I think it's done with the series based on everything that I've heard and what Rogue just said. I think for me, though, it's like, I don't understand why we have, as a culture, the need to consistently try to compare all these things and what dethroned. We're obsessed with that as a statistic, as opposed to just being really excited that we have two awesome shows in our genre that you can just appreciate and enjoy.
Yeah.
It costs you twice as much because they're on two different platforms.
Yeah, right. But
I
everybody
think-
already had Netflix already, right? And
I'm a leech.
and a ton of people got Disney Plus either for free or signed up for Disney Plus. If you're a fan of any of the little things that they have access to, so it's an interesting comparison. Is all I'm saying.
It is an interesting comparison, but as you're saying, it is kind of a loaded set of dice. I mean, you've got one that you got to binge all at once. One you had to wait. But none of these variables match up. One of them started really strong, I think, and one of them finished really strong. Although personally, and I loved both shows. I won't knock either show. I think one of them was scripted way better than the other. Mandalorian, and I think it was the idea that he's a helmet wearing warrior. He's stoic, so there isn't a ton of dialogue, and as a result, the storyline was not as fleshed out as it could have been. And I say that with love for the show, but I mean, part of me just wanted more because of that. And hey, maybe that was what they were aiming for and went after and succeeded with at the end of the season when I wanted more. As always,
right?
But I mean, The Witcher I thought started very strong, and then the latter half of the season, there weren't as many turns. It was kind of like everything was just lining up more and more, and the story got where you thought it was going, which is fine. And you don't need to have a bunch of surprise endings, but at least the script was still good, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're both sort of like, they both have a bit of fan payoff, but they require you to like also have a bit of knowledge, like who the Mandalorian is or who the Witcher is. Like, they don't explain backstories or what the people are or
what the thing was at the end of Mandalorian.
Exactly. So
that's interesting because I've spoken to a lot of people who are not typical Star Wars fans, but who have watched Mandalorian now just because of the hype around it. They had it, and it was the big release. Who felt comfortable enough watching that show. And I think one of that show's strongest, and again, I haven't watched The Witcher, so I can't come on that a lot, but I think one of the strongest things about The Mandalorian is that it felt very comfortable if you were a Star Wars fan. There's a lot for you to take out of it. But as someone who's not a Star Wars fan, I think you were able to follow that story, and they gave you just enough to make that story what it needed to be in those 8 episodes, in those 8 30 to 40 minute episodes, right? The episodes weren't super long. There wasn't a ton of them, but they gave you what you needed to travel that journey with them. I want to watch Witcher. I just haven't had a chance to do it yet.
You'll find the similar comfort in it. They both do a very good job of, even if you're not a massive fan of the franchise, they do lure you in. I mean, I think The Witcher kind of, especially with the people, like, everyone's just come off the back of Game of Thrones, like, not that long ago.
Sure.
And, like, people, it's not been, not said, but some people found the ending disappointing. So I think what The Witcher does is it kind of fills that fantasy sort of genre, and especially on Netflix, which is such a rather than Disney Plus, it's such a better known sort of TV show and movie platform, and people already have it. And I think that's the main thing that came in. They say, "Oh, it's another fantasy. It's got like all this stuff in it, and dragons. Oh, Jon Snow's not in this one. What do you mean, Jon Snow's? All that stuff." But it sort of scratches the itch with a big muscular guy just taking on whatever
monsters swinging
he
a sword
faces.
around.
But it does a very good job. I mean, in The Witcher, Henry Cavill does the best job. I think I think this is his main role. Forget Superman. Don't even care for him. I think the Witcher role he's done, he's far surpassed the actual Geralt from the video games. Like Geralt from the video games, yeah, he wasn't the best animated character, but Cavill just looks like The Witcher.
And he was kind of a controversial
exactly.
pick.
I like him or not. I was like, he doesn't look enough like The Witcher for me, like compared to because I've obviously played the video game, so I know what the Witcher
Mhm.
looks like. But they did an amazing job, and he looks. Not to mention, there's boobies. Okay, even if you don't want to watch the actual Witcher, boobies, love it.
Now we know why you really like it.
But like he does an amazing job. Like I was one of those people who sort of like Henry Cavill plays Superman. I'm not sure how he's going to play this role. I mean, for those people who don't know The Witcher, he's quite. The Witcher race is known to be sort of unemotional and not really care, which is what gives Henry Cavill like the sort of the edge kind of in this one, where he doesn't really have to act. But you. Without, I don't really spoil anything, so I won't get onto that point. But like, he does it perfectly, even though like it doesn't require doing emotions. He somehow nails not doing emotions perfectly.
Yeah. Red Fox said that he feels like he's the equivalent to The Witcher of Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stark. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
nailed it. I would say
he doesn't even
He
look
is the
like the
role.
video games.
Yeah.
He's not what people expected. But then you see him in the role, and then you see his physique, and it's just like because Geralt in the games, he's very top heavy, and he's very, his face is very sculpted. He's very, he's a very stiff man. If you play, not in that way, guys. Calm down.
I mean, boobies,
But
so.
like, you sort of believe Henry Cavill to be more of a proper embodiment of The Witcher because he's more agile, not agile, but he looks more human than The Witcher does. But like, you sort of see him sort of like take on the role and sort of scoop it up as his own because I know some people don't like him as Superman, some people do. I don't really watch DC stuff. I kind of watched Batman vs Superman, didn't really like him in that, but I think this is his crowded jewel. If he keeps up with this for 7 seasons, which is apparently what's planned,
wow.
I think
Really?
he'll. Apparently it's going to keep going to 7 seasons. I think they've green lighted 4 already, 4 seasons.
Wow. Okay. Awesome.
But like, I'm just pumped, even for both. Like Mandalorian, great Mandalorian casting. Even though people call it the Baby Yoda show, and it's just that completely just scrambles my mind. But like, even though Baby Yoda is this topic of interest, he is a topic of interest because the only other 2 like Yoda creatures we've seen, Yoda and Yaddle.
Oh,
Yaddle, sorry. Which it's mystery and sort of. The people who love Star Wars are intrigued by that, and the people who don't love Star Wars are intrigued by it. So it's sort of coming together. Of
You know what?
people.
You know what stuck out to me the most about The Mandalorian? The thing that, like, Baby Yoda's cool. The story's really good. Enjoyed everything about it. But getting that in the last episode, that the interaction between these 2 stormtroopers where they're just hanging out, not actually being stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Like they're just being 2 guys. Like I think that's the first time we actually got anything like that.
Yeah.
It's the first time they've given stormtroopers real personality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just that's funny.
It reminded me of what was the does anybody remember the comic that came maybe 5-6 years ago? Was it Tag and Brink, or it followed these 2 stormtroopers that were essentially the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of the Star Wars universe. Like they were a bit goofy and kind of always like stumbling into success or barely escaping whatever perils they were faced. And those 2 characters were a great representation of that. And you're right, it gave us actual personality.
I would love to watch that show. That is
Absolutely.
a show I would watch.
100%.
But yeah, these you just see them in day-to-day life because you always see them obviously do that and say, "What? Put your hands up," or whatever they say, or do the Wilhelm scream. But like you see them just like chilling about and just like, for lack of a better word, freaking about and just chilling and just like because they're just sat there and just like, okay, well, what do we do for the next 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Let's try and shoot a can and then it's the whole thing where they're bad at aiming and then it sort of plays into a funny thing. They just can't hit this can. One of them just starts shooting at it and then the other one sort of goes, okay, I'm going to try and hit the can. They both just miss the can and they're just like, oh, okay, back to our jobs. It's sort of like that humour, which kind of it fits in so nice.
TIE Fighter makes a good point. Finn was a stormtrooper and he had a personality.
Yeah,
Well,
but
yeah,
He took off the costume now.
but he took
That's
off the
true.
costume. What I meant was like the first time that we're really seeing stormtroopers with personalities as stormtroopers
Mhm.
in that's like because even on the rest of the show, all the other stormtroopers we have really fallen into the regular sort of rank and file stormtrooper, setting.
Would you count clone troopers with that though?
well, technically the stormtroopers of the first iteration of the Empire are recycled clone troopers. It's only
Yeah.
until the First Order
No.
which Finn is.
But in like the Clone Wars show, they actually do give a lot of them
Right. Well,
personalities.
that's why I said live action.
Okay, I missed that.
I said live action because even though Clone Wars was a great show, Rebels was a great show, I think there's a lot of people that haven't seen those things,
Yep.
don't watch those things, so they don't.
Yeah.
But I think there's much more people watching them. It's live action.
And really cutting out a lot for me there.
Yeah, your noise gate might need to be turned down. So I know we were talking a little bit ago about what was you brought up Jack Black, Rogue. He is retiring from the big screen.
No more Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah. To strike a better work-life balance. He is open to television work that will allow him to spend more time with his family. So I was just kind of wondering, what kind of TV shows would you guys like to see him do? And what is your favorite Jack Black film?
Well, personally, I don't need to see him on TV or on the silver screen at all. I need more Tenacious D in my life.
There you go.
Sure. Yeah.
There you go.
So
you can guess my favorite if you can see the picture there, because I chose that. I love High Fidelity. Big fan of that movie.
Absolutely. I don't. What's my favorite Jack Black? I don't know. That's tough.
He's been in a ton of movies.
He's been in a ton of movies.
School of Rock was kind of one of my favorites, actually, because it was just Jack Black being Jack Black for an entire movie.
Yeah.
I feel like. But I mean, there's no end to the list. I mean, are there movies with Jack Black that I don't like?
Yeah, right, exactly. Silverman, like there's like get all the nachos to stick together. That's one nacho. Like there's as far as what I would love to see him do, I think Disney Plus just announced that they have a new Muppet show coming called Muppets Now.
Oh,
And I feel like Jack Black is such an over-the-top animated actor that him interacting with the Muppets, I think, is a great setting for him.
Yeah.
Could he do something like
actually be perfect?
Dracula musical?
Oh, yeah, the Bat Boy.
I'd love to see him in sort of like a late night house or something like that.
Yeah.
Where he'd just be like, okay, stop, let's rock.
Well,
just get on the desk and just start air guitar.
Yeah.
TIE Fighter makes a great point. He could join the Elevate Network. Maybe we
There you
should
go.
make
He
him
could
our
join the
Elevate
Elevate.
True. Send out an
Decent
official
show.
e-bite.
He can work from home.
Yeah, but
That's how
I
you
gotta say,
balance.
my favorite movie. I know it's doesn't really contain Jack Black's beautiful face, but I love Kung Fu Panda. I find it hilarious. I mean, I just can't get enough of it. I like Jack
Noodle.
Black. Just I can imagine
Oh,
him
noodle.
in the studio box doing all the actions and sort of, get ready to feel the thunder. Just doing all the actions, but I love it. I mean, I'm not major rock and roll, so like I like all of his movies. Don't get me wrong; like there are good movies. Like I watched, I think it's Gulliver's Island Adventures or whatever it was.
Mhm.
I can't remember what the actual name was. But it was
Travels?
like a giant Travels of Gulliver.
Coach
as well.
Travels.
That's the one. And like Jumanji and all of his big ones. And I'm sort of like, just Kung Fu Panda does it for me. Something about cartoons. I think it's my childlike instinct. It's sort of the Wuxi finger. Don't get me started on the Wuxi finger. It's awesome. Like just the sounds he made while he's fighting were just couldn't get enough of it.
It was like they
So just
animated him into a spirit animal,
Yeah,
and
like
Yeah,
that is him.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that can perform really in probably any medium.
Yeah,
And-
he has his own
and
YouTube
do
channel.
amazing.
He streams with PewDiePie.
Yeah, like you said. So kind of sad to hear that he'll be leaving, but just because he's leaving doesn't mean that we don't get another big return. So I'm excited about this because I always enjoyed these movies. Jackass will be returning to the silver screen.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Rick Moranis.
Oh yeah, Rick Moranis. He'll come back and reprise this role as was he Bob or Doug McKenzie? I think it was Doug.
He was Bob, wasn't he?
Was he Bob?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Take off, hoser. So it's not really clear who from the original cast is going to be involved, but a couple of them have expressed interest, including Steve-O, and they've given kind of a loose premiere date of early March 2021. So, hey, we'll get a little senseless violence back into our lives. The only concern I have for this, because I liked Jackass. I liked the TV show. I liked the movies. I thought they were funny. But depending on who actually comes back, I wonder if it's just going to be awkward. Like, oh, Steve-O, you're a little too old to be doing clean. You know what I mean? Doing this stuff still. Like, he's clean now too. So
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Injury.
Yeah.
Ryan Dunn passed away, and I think Don Vito passed away too.
Oh,
yeah. They're down a couple of.
Well, Johnny Knoxville's got to be pretty old. Wasn't he older than most of them too?
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
and
well, he probably still is.
Knoxville has had somewhat of like a legitimate career since Jackass. He's been in a bunch of stuff and some really good roles, and I don't know.
I mean, I've never been a massive fan of Jackass, especially when I was a kid. Just like some of the stuff, I sort of.
I think you missed the era.
I couldn't watch it. Like it was a funny one. Like he strapped a fat guy with like firecrackers, but like I couldn't do like the stuff where they broke things, where they, their arms got cut up, or they ended themselves with vomiting and crapping everywhere. It's just like I don't. What?
I don't know. I thought taking a dump out the van window was pretty funny.
But like they show it, and I'm like, I don't watch someone take a crap on a thing. I did, however, like Bad Grandpa and all the stuff they do. That's sort of in moderation.
Right.
I just sort of enjoy it, and I sort of after the show came out, and I grew up a bit and whatnot, I sort of started to appreciate it a bit more. But there's still some things I'm just like where they put like a butt as a mount in on a train set, and then they just like load it up with like stuff that gives you a diarrhea, and then they just launches. It's just, oh God, I'm just like, I don't want to watch this. Why would anyone want to watch someone crapping himself?
Yeah, no one wants to admit that they want to see a grown man with a candle wedged between his butt cheeks launching it onto a football field. Yet secretly, we all want to see a grown man with between his butt cheeks launching it onto a football field.
I feel like it's
You taught us a lot more about watching fireworks.
Yeah, that's right. Trajectory. That's what I learned. Trajectory.
the butt bonging beers. Just ridiculous stuff.
Or the vodka Ivy. Yeah. So, all right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I had a lot of fun. You guys, you got anything you want to plug?
We're just gonna go around the room.
Hey, fine, go for it.
GeekStuffOG on pretty much every social media platform. I make it easy. Give me a follow on Twitch or Twitter or Instagram. I'm on all
of them. Well, Stump doesn't do anything, so
I do plenty of things, just not live.
Well, I obviously play. I don't know if Geek plugged it, but I obviously play D&D with Geek every Monday night. Was it 8 or 9 a.m.
p.m. Eastern,
because I'm UK. I don't know this. And for everyone in UK, it's Tuesday at 1 a.m. in the morning. If you're up, which you're probably not. I'd question why I'm up every night. But yeah, we do that. That's quite fun. We're doing it tomorrow as well, which is superb. I, however, am the official rogue many places apart from Twitter and Facebook, which I'm officially rogue. At officially rogue, all that stuff. So yeah, please give me a follow. I've got a lot of stuff coming for the new year. A lot of big stuff planned. So yeah, follow me.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we got a few things to plug ourselves here at Elevate. We got Walt Wednesday every Wednesday night at 7. Make sure you come check that out. I don't know what the movie is that they'll be talking about this week, but it is always a blast and fun to talk about some of the origins of those movies. Some of them have pretty dark roots. But we will also be going live soon with Mixer Mondays. We're not quite there yet, but we will be soon. We're going to be doing some community streams on Mixer on Monday nights. And of course, this show, as always, on Sundays at 9 p.m. We'll be here for 10 weeks. So week 1 is down. We got 9 more to go until Streamer Spotlight returns. Next week, we are going to be joined by Ghostfighter X1, who, if you didn't know, made the lovely background that we are sitting in front of. We will also have Zazzaboo. Jazzy will be here. And we will be joined once again by our favorite rogue, the official rogue. As you can see in the chat, you can follow us on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All the links will be there if you hit ! socials. And I would like to add just one last thing. If you would like to be a guest or have a topic that you would like us to talk about, you can either hit up Elevate on Twitter or shoot me an email at zazzaboo@elevatestreams.com. And I have one last thank you. I'd like to thank TIE Fighter X1 for doing the producing of the show tonight. He's doing all the behind the scenes and battling through the difficulties we had. He did a very good job.
Chains.
He did a very good job under pressure. So thank you, Ty, and we appreciate it. And we will see you next week. We'll be here at 9 o'clock. Do not look at the man behind the screen. That's right. All right. So everybody have a wonderful night, and I will see you next week. Take care.